Okay. First, I want to say thank you again.
so
I know I've said
welcome.
thank you before already, but I know how busy you are. And I know I told you, thank you, a little bit about our project, but we're going out into the community to just get real information. The more we've dug into this, we've realized that we don't have a lot of data at the Guilford County level. So we're reaching out to directors, teachers, families, parents, just to ask questions and get different perspectives on the topic. So our problem question that we're trying to address is, why can't all centers attract, retain, engage highly qualified, highly educated staff? So first, just so I can get a better idea of the demographics of your program, will you tell me a little bit about, I guess, your structure, the types of families you serve, any families on subsidy, just a little bit about who you guys are.
Sure. So we are a full-day licensed program. We're a
Okay.
5-star facility. We're a ratio-inspired facility. Our primary families are upper working class families. We serve 87 students when we're fully enrolled. That's including the 13 after-school positions that we have. We only serve full-day families. And as I said, most of our families are working professionals.
Okay. So based on what you've said here, and if I don't keep eye contact the
No,
whole
you're fine.
time,
You're
I'm
right.
taking a lot
No
of
problem.
notes. Do you have any families here that are subsidy or any sort of scholarship, or is it mostly family tuition?
They're mostly family tuition.
Okay.
We do have some subsidized children that are in our program. Primarily, the subsidized children that we have are children that are employees of Friendly Avenue. So,
Interesting. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
well, certainly, as I said, most of our families are working professionals, and so they do not qualify for subsidies. We do have a couple that have subsidies that are in the foster system.
Okay.
But just by the mere concern of this whole conversation and our staff and the wage that they make, they do qualify for subsidized care. And so that's those are the two demographics that we have in subsidized care: foster children and then our employees.
Okay. So getting to the meat of the first big question, and we can split it up too because it's a lot to think about, but can you tell me just a little bit about the context of what it's like to attract or retain highly educated, qualified staff?
Well, first let me say that I've been an administrator in early childhood in Guilford County for 28 years, and so I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of peaks and valleys, and this is definitely one of the deepest valleys that I've seen as far as being able to attract and retain a really high qualified employee. We are just really struggling to attract, but primarily we're struggling to retain.
So when you say primarily struggling to retain, what are some of the concerns or issues you're facing in retaining the staff that you currently have?
Well, so I guess we have two. First, let me say we do not have a lot of turnover here traditionally compared to that industry-wide. The two kind of areas of turnover that we do see are college students that are changing schedules and just kind of getting into the profession, and there's a lot of turnover there as they change their class schedules, as they graduate, as they move into whatever field of study they're specifically preparing for. So those are anticipated. changes that we know in advance when we're hiring a college student that there's probably a short period of time that they'll be here at the facility. Where the greatest problem that we have seen recently with staff retention are our long-term qualified lead teachers that are having to leave the program that they have been invested in for 7-10 years, primarily because it's a wage-based concern, either the hourly wage or the hourly wage factoring in the benefits that they can get in other programs. It's just not enough to be able to sustain their families and for them to lead a quality life. So we have, this particular year, we've lost 2 lead teachers that had been in the program for 7 years or greater, that were degreed, both of them working toward a master's, both of them having to go to the public school system where they were still able to kind of fulfill their dream and their passion of working with children, but that they could receive benefits, they could receive retirement, and they could receive a worthier wage. Still not an adequate wage, but certainly a worthier wage than what we're able to afford here at this time. And both of them left this not being their first choice, and it was merely boiled down to having to make decisions on behalf of their family and the family needs.
So you brought up something about the wage and having been here a while. Is it okay if I ask some questions
Oh,
about
sure.
pay here?
Absolutely, absolutely.
When you are hiring to fill the spot that was left, do you maybe move someone from within to a lead position, or are you hiring for the lead position that left, or how does that normally play out for that piece? Or is it different depending on the scenario?
Yes, I mean, there's no one answer. Our goal here is to try to promote from within if we have a qualified candidate, because it's difficult for us as a ratio-inspired school with some different focuses maybe than a traditional early environment. Emphasis on our outdoor environment and our firm child care collaborations, those different things. It works so much better when they have worked through our program and already have those understandings and skills, as opposed to someone coming from outside the program that's a little more traditional minded and having to unlearn and relearn. However, at a 5-star level, we have to have those staff that meet all those credentials and qualifications. And so we don't always have that person waiting in the wings. Because, if they have already graduated with a degree, if they already have the 2+ years of experience that are required, they're financially gonna need to move on to bigger and better things if they can't receive a position here, so.
And when you say degree, are you referring to what specific track? Associates, 4-year?
Well, at the 5-star level, the minimum is the associates.
Okay.
And that seems to be the degree level that we can retain the best. It's very, very difficult for us to retain a 4-year degree or higher degree employee for any length of time.
And
Obviously, because,
they qualify for other
for a lot of
positions?
other opportunities that it just doesn't make good financial sense for them to choose, to work in a program such as this.
And I'm assuming that there is some sort of salary scale
We
in
do have a
place
salary
already.
scale.
If you were hiring, let's say, someone with an associate's degree, well, actually, let me back up. What factors is your salary scale based upon here?
Okay, so at this time, our salary scale is primarily education driven. There
Okay.
are factors of tenure and experience. So I can just kind of share a rough
Yeah.
ballpark of that. So our baseline entry-level employee with no experience and no degree, with maybe a basic child development class, would begin at $8.25 an hour. So that is what we consider to be an entry-level position. Which those are well, first, we're a nonprofit program, and so we operate with a little lower child-to-staff ratio than maybe some of the corporations that are in the area, or some private for-profit programs. So we strive to have a lower child-to-staff ratio. So, for instance, in our toddler class, where we would have 12 students, we have 3 full-time employees. So we would hire a lead teacher, we would hire a teacher, and then we hire what we term to be a support staff position. Those support staff positions are people that are new to the profession, or do not have the education level that the other 2 positions have. So those would be our $8.25 up to $10 an hour, depending on their years of service.
Okay.
Then our mid-range employee would be our teaching positions, and those would range from $9.25 to about $12 an hour, depending on their level of education and depending on their experience. And then our lead teaching positions start at $12 an hour and go up to $14 an hour currently.
And for that lead teacher, I know
That's
you
a
mentioned-
minimum of associate's degree
Okay.
and a minimum of two sound years of qualified lead teaching experience.
Thank you for clarifying that. I suppose, since we've kind of gotten into that, what is the biggest barrier for you related, and I know you've mentioned not being able to do some of the things that the K-12 system or other systems in early childhood can do, but what do you feel is the biggest barrier for you here in your context related to, let's just say, retaining the staff that you have?
I mean, it's just simply a budget issue. I mean, that even though we serve some of the probably most professional families in the community, like doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, business professionals, bankers, that's primarily who our family base is. They still will just pay so much for childcare, and that is our greatest expense, obviously, with creating an operating budget. The majority of our budget is just straight payroll, and the market will just bear
Right.
a certain amount of tuition, and so there's just unless there's an additional supplement that can be given in some way, or some kind of a break in the system.
Yeah.
It's just a continual cycle of looking for good qualified people, training good qualified people, and then losing them to a program that can
Can do more.
can better support them.
So out of curiosity, we were talking about the demographics of the families here, and you mentioned your toddler classroom having 3 full-time staff to 12 children. What is the out-of-pocket tuition in that toddler classroom?
It's $850 a month.
Okay. Just to give some context
Sure.
to what that means.
Our infant classroom would be 3 full-time providers and 10 students, and that would be $910 a month. And then our preschool program is $800 a month.
So, I know we haven't covered every base, but what other ways does this problem affect you that we haven't really touched on? Like, what does it mean to the program when you have to handle the turnover related to wages or people leaving for better benefits?
Well, I mean, there's always just as administrator, that impending dread of knowing that, you know, many of your employees that you're investing in, preparing them to be those highly qualified professionals that can, prepare, you know, for the children to have really high quality days. You're investing in those people, but just knowing in the back of your mind that, you know, they're just one good job offer away from another decision that would better benefit their families. We have a lot of staff here that have been here 10, 15, you know, almost 18 years. They're very committed and passionate about early childhood. Most of those individuals have a spouse that can help offset their family budget. Rarely are we able to retain for a long time, like a single individual or somebody on a single income. So that, you know, just knowing that you're investing, you know, that's a little frustrating as an administrator. You know, the other thing is just that turnover is never in the best interest of children. If you're in a quality situation and you have a loving, caring, highly qualified care provider, it's never in the best interest of that child to have to experience a change. And so, you know, you hate that for the children as well, and that's really what we're here for, is to make that significant impact in the life of a child. And so when a child gets settled into a really good quality classroom and they've got this really great bond with a caring professional person and they're thriving, and then to, you know, just to have that dropped, not necessarily at the desire of the caregiver, but just because they feel like they don't have any other options to be able to you know, to maintain a productive life. It's certainly not because they're disillusioned with the industry or, you know, just fed up with early childhood. Is that, you know, what we have seen is those that are leaving are the ones that are still very passionate about it, and they leave brokenhearted. You know, they leave wishing that wasn't the case. But it's just a reality that it just doesn't make good logistical sense for you know, a professional person who can do better to do better. And so you're asking them to make such a sacrifice just because they believe in the work that's being done, and that just asking that alone will only get you so far. I mean, these ladies deserve to have a worthy wage. They deserve to have a high quality of life, or a reasonable quality of life. You know, as I mentioned today, I've just had a conversation with an employee that's been with us for 13 years, and the healthcare system is changing for her, and she's literally not able to afford the rising cost of her health care. And so for that reason alone, she's now having to look at and weigh and kind of value, can I stay here and readjust my finances, or do I have to leave a job that I've loved for 13 years and I can't even imagine doing anything different? Those are unfortunate decisions that this profession is requiring our people to make, and it's just a really sad time to be in early childhood.
And thank you for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your perspective on this. I know these aren't easy conversations
They're not.
to have. Now, we've talked some with our team about different supports in the work environment that are related to turnover in the field. I just wanted to quickly checklist a couple of things.
Sure.
I already know from your conversation that low ratios
Right.
are one of the things that
Right.
we practice here.
Right.
Do you offer any sort of paid time off for
We do
employees?
offer paid time off, and that's on a seniority scale between
Okay.
10 and 15 days of paid time off for a year.
What about paid planning time?
We do have paid planning time. For our lead teachers. Our
Okay.
lead teachers are the ones that are primarily responsible for the planning, and they do receive paid time during the workday.
And any sort of professional development days that are taken?
We have 3 professional development days a year that are specific to professional development. We do have an additional day where they can just work on room improvements and those type things, parent conferences and things like that. But we do provide for those professional development days. We also really do value the ability to be able to send our professionals to conferences and to other, days. We do some touring of other facilities to kind of sharpen our skills and just keep us aware of what is, new and kind of trending in the profession, so.
So we do have quite a bit of
Yes.
things that we are doing there
Right.
as far as attracting and retaining.
And specific to the low ratios, we have talked with our staff for years and years and years, and where it may not make really great sense to take 3 positions and divide the payroll that way. What we do find is that does create just a better work environment, and sometimes that comes at a really, it comes at a price. But sometimes the quality of your work experience is equally important to, your compensation. And so we factor all that in. We're continually, keeping our pulse with the staff, and just, it's a hard job. It's work. It is work. And so, when you can provide those extra hands to give the children the quality that they need, but also for the staff to have a more enjoyable work experience, we feel like that's worth our investment.
Sandy, thank you so much for your time. I can't think of anything else
Okay.
off the top of my head unless there's something else related that you can think of. Otherwise, I'm gonna go try to make some sense of my notes.
Okay.
And if
fair
I have
enough.
any other questions,
Always call me.
something doesn't make sense, or I can't read my chicken scratch,
No problem.
I'll get back in touch with
You
you.
just call me. We're here to journey through this. It's too important a work not to keep this fight going. These teachers deserve it, these children deserve it, and these families deserve it. So I thank you for everything you're doing on behalf of the profession in York County. I really do.
Well, thank you, and I'll be back in touch soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.